Lyme disease is the most common tick-borne illness in the world. In Wisconsin, the main carrier for the disease is the deer tick. In tonight's edition of Feel Great Today, we're talking about the signs and symptoms of Lyme disease and how soon you should seek treatment.
Feel Great Today with Jessica Djukic.
If you remove a deer tick, you want to monitor for signs of Lyme disease, and the most commonly known sign of Lyme is the bullseye rash or a target rash.
Ashley Johnson is a nurse practitioner with the Aspirus Tick-Borne Illness Center in Woodruff. Ticks contract Lyme disease from animals they feed on, like the white-footed mouse. Johnson says younger ticks are more likely to spread Lyme disease.
So the nymphs are really the culprit for spreading Lyme disease because they are so small, and they are most active in the spring and early summer. So a lot of our acute Lyme cases tend to be, early summer to midsummer because it takes a while for the symptoms to develop.
There are a wide variety of Lyme disease symptoms, but Johnson says the most telling sign is a rash that can appear anywhere from 3 to 30 days after tick removal.
Other symptoms would include joint pain that migrates. So you can get swelling of the joints, specifically the knees are a common place. Muscle pain, headaches, fever, brain fog or confusion, tingling and numbness. There's a variety of symptoms.
If you remove a tick and develop any symptoms, Johnson recommends seeing a specialist as soon as possible.
The sooner you can get treatment, the better. So the sooner that you can recognize what's going on and identify the risk factors and get on treatment, the less risk you have of having persistent symptoms.
Johnson says if it's Lyme disease, it can be treated with a course of antibiotics. If symptoms persist after treatment, you could have long-term Lyme disease.
There is help out there, and that there is hope and healing, even though they may feel like they're lost and that they're, helpless, that there is providers out there who do care and who are there to help, and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Getting a mammogram early can save lives. In tonight's edition of Feel Great Today, we'll explain what a mammogram is and what can increase your risk for breast cancer.
Feel Great Today with Jessica Djukic.
A mammogram is like an X-ray image used to detect breast cancer.
Melissa Coyne-Gitter is an advanced practice nurse practitioner at the Aspirus Tomahawk Clinic. She says people should begin scheduling mammograms between 40 and 49 years old, depending on risk factors.
One is age. The risks go up. Family history is important. Also, dense breast, it's important to have a mammogram early so that can be detected early. Again, going back to diet, it's important to have a healthy diet free of preservatives and a lot of fat. Charred foods can also increase the risk of breast cancer, as well as alcohol and tobacco use.
Coyne-Gitter says people should mention concerns to their primary care provider.
Breast changes of concern might be skin texture changes, lumps, pain, nipple discharge, anything different that you're noticing on your own, which is important to really know your own body, your own breast tissue.
If you have a mammogram scheduled, do not wear deodorant or lotion because it can lead to a false positive.
If there's something detected on the first mammogram, you may go on to have an additional mammogram or an ultrasound. So that would be followed up on. It's important to screen for early breast cancer so that it can be treated.
With winter arriving soon, she says getting vitamin D supplements or sunlight can lower your risk.
A healthy vitamin D level has been shown to prevent breast cancer. If you could get at least 15 to 30 minutes of sun on your skin throughout the day, that helps with your vitamin D.
Life can be stressful, but taking a moment to stop and breathe can help. In tonight's edition of Feel Great Today, we'll discuss what meditation is and how it's beneficial.
Feel Great Today with Jessica Djukic.
So meditation is the act of being in the present moment. So if you are truly in this room with me right now, you shouldn't be anxious or depressed.
Heidi Pritzel is a licensed social worker with the Aspirus Kohler Behavioral Health Clinic in Woodruff. She says practicing meditation several times a day can reduce stress and make you more productive.
The way I start is by breathing. That's important. I think most of us hold our breath throughout the day, especially when we're in pain or stressed. So really getting that deep breath into your diaphragm.
She says if your emotions are boiling over, focusing on one thing and not thinking about the future can help center you.
I have people watch a pot of water boil and they can't leave. They have to stand there and watch that water boil and not get the spaghetti noodles or not get the dishes done. And that just allows you to just slow the mind and rest.
Pritzel says meditation is about living in the moment and paying attention to your 5 senses, touch, sight, hearing, smell, and taste to help identify triggers.
For example, if a trigger for us is because somebody is yelling or has a louder tone when they speak to us, to help move away from personalizing that, we want to build in something that's calming. So that might be music without words. That might be just sitting in a space with your favorite sounds, such as ocean waves.
Pritzel says meditation can be something simple you add to your daily routine, and it can be a minute or longer.
The goal is to try to stop at least every hour and just kind of check in with yourself, check in with your body, where's your tension, do a few deep breaths, and then move on to the next thing versus kind of snowballing one thing into the next and building on more stress.
A baby's first pediatrician visit happens within the first 2 to 4 days after they're born. In tonight's edition of Feel Great Today, we'll hear what parents should expect during that first visit.
Feel Great Today with Jessica Djukic.
The primary thing, frankly, is are they eating well? Because that's the most energy intensive and difficult thing that they're doing in their life.
Dr. Paul Fishbook is a pediatrician at the Aspirus Rhinelander Pediatric Clinic. During the first visit, he checks to see if the baby is eating well and if there are any issues with breastfeeding or formula.
We're just wanting to make sure you're not noticing any unusual feeding behaviors, like your baby's sweating like they ran a marathon with every feed, for example. And then also that your baby's not losing too much weight too quickly, because that indicates something's not going well.
Dr. Fishbook says babies should gain about an ounce of weight a day within the first 2 weeks.
A baby can't go more than maybe 4 hours at the maximum without eating. Otherwise, their blood sugar will start to tank. So if you're saying your newborn baby slept 6 hours, that's a horrifying thing for me to hear, because that, to me, signals something is going very wrong.
He says babies will eat about 8 times in a 24-hour period and will sleep in 2-hour intervals.
You're basically going to be kind of on call for your baby, so you don't really have a schedule. Your baby gets to be the boss. So let's say your baby wakes up and they're hungry, because you should assume that they are. You would feed them, and that will take anywhere between 5 and 20 minutes.
If you notice your baby is having issues breastfeeding, Aspirus has a lactation consultant that can help.
We're lucky enough where we have someone that is lactation certified, and ideally they like to observe a feed, and if they see something, they'll intervene right then, and they have a really high success rate.
The holidays can be a cheerful time, but for families who recently lost a loved one, the holidays can be a reminder of what's missing. In tonight's Feel Great Today, we'll discuss dealing with grief during the holiday season.
Feel Great Today with Jessica Djukic.
Everybody is different when it comes to grief.
Heidi Pritzel is a licensed social worker with the Aspirus Kohler Behavioral Health Clinic. She says it's normal for people to think about loved ones who passed during the holidays.
I think what we've learned about grief, it's always there. It never goes away. When people say, oh, when am I going to get over this? They're not. I don't think that's a real thing. So what I teach them is to move through those emotions. Those emotions will show up every year.
She says moving through those emotions is about feeling them. They can manifest through the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
When somebody grieves, it usually takes about a year to move through each emotion if they haven't had another loss. It's okay to be angry, it's okay to be sad, but the important part is to get it out and to not hold it within your own body.
She says people cope with grief in different ways, but family time and traditions can help.
Continuing traditions that you have in the home. I know people love like watching Hallmark or their favorite Christmas movies, and and there's research found on that. Christmas movies you've seen every year, it reduces that anxiety. You kind of know what's next. So building in those traditions that help them think of those happy memories and those happy times with the family is so supportive.
She says if you're not feeling festive this holiday season, the best thing you can do is connect with friends or support groups.
I think a lot of people are facing loneliness right now, and so any connection that they can find helps to improve mood and make them feel a part of something.